how are you guys? Um, well, first and foremost, hope you're having a great day. Of my story, right? That happened in 2009, which was my heart surgery, right? I was born with heart problems and whatnot, but in 2009, right? In 2009, that's when if I'm not mistaken, that's whenever they did the surgery. Um, all I remember was that apparently I had an open aorta that needed to be fixed, and I remember going to the hospital, and I was obviously pretty nervous. I was just a kid, and my mom was there, obviously my dad, and I remember like she had seen that I was kind of nervous, so she had asked if she wanted her to pray, and so we did, right? We did, and they brought me on to the operating room, and I remember seeing a whole bunch of doctors or surgeons, I guess you could say. And honestly, I could not count them. I could not count them. There were just so many. And they put the anesthesia on. I was fighting so hard to try to stay awake. I didn't want to go to sleep, but that did knock me out. And I remember, I mean, obviously just went to sleep, basically. But I remember vividly that while I was in the surgery, I had a dream, or I guess you could say a vision, whatever you want to call it. And in that dream, I remember that I guess if you could picture, right, outer space, right, where it's like blue or black, with a whole bunch of little dots, and then picture the world, right? The world is a globe, and I remember I was standing on the world, and then there was a tree with apples, and I saw a person with a white robe. I could not see their face. Um, that uh, he took an apple from the tree and he gave it to me. He gave it to me and then he said, "Take a bite." He told me to bite it. And as soon as I bit it, right? I took the apple. In my dream, I bit it and then I woke up, right? And on my face, right? I am Christian and I do believe in God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. I do myself now believe that that person was Jesus. And it was crazy. It's crazy because at that time you don't really think much of it, but as you get older you start to think about those things, man. Um, but I do want to read a verse from the Bible that I do relate to, based on what what happened, right? Ezequiel 30, 36, 26, right? And it reads, Os daré corazón nuevo y pondré espíritu nuevo dentro de vosotros, y quitaré de vuestra carne el corazón de piedra, y os daré un corazón de carne. Y pondré dentro de vosotros mi espíritu, y haré que andéis en mis estatutos, y guardéis mis preceptos, y los pongáis por obra. And yeah, I mean that verse is very powerful, right? You know, everything in the Bible is very powerful, but that, I do relate to the most. And you always go through. Well, I mean, I don't know if everybody goes through, right? But I did go through a phase of, I guess you could call it rebellion, right? Where you can do whatever you want. Nobody tells you a thing. To a point where I didn't go to church. I used to think myself, people only go to church, um, or people who go to church are hypocrites, right? Because they keep on doing bad things, and that was my belief, right? Or that's what I thought until I started getting closer to God, and I realized, in the Bible, I don't remember exactly where it says that it shows Jesus. He came for for the people that are not perfect, right? The church is made for the imperfects, not the perfects, right? Jesus, whenever he calls onto you, he says, "Come as you are." He doesn't tell you, "Oh, fix everything you have to fix and then come." No, as you go to him, he will start working in you. Only if you truly want it, if you truly believe it, as well. And it's obviously it's hard to keep on going, right? Sometimes it is difficult. Sometimes you go through some things that you're like, man, like I'm doing good and I'm trying to get closer to God, and stuff keeps on going wrong. But it could be one or two things. Either the God putting you through a process, or the devil trying to get to you for trying to get close to God, because either of those could happen, right? Um, and I would like to think that I have changed quite a bit from what I used to before. Um, I can't say, oh yeah, I'm like wait, perfect, but I do try my best. You know, um, back then I used to drink and do other things I shouldn't have, and I've been sober for, I like to say, 2 years, closer to 2 years, maybe 2.5. I lost count. I didn't look back to drinking. I decided one day, you know what, I'm not gonna drink, and that's it's been that. I've had many people offer me like, oh, just a beer. I'm like, nope, I'm good. And they ask me, why, and I tell them simply, I just don't drink, because of my face, and other things, you do try to do your best, obviously. But yeah, I mean, the whole point of this video was to just share a little part of what happened in my life, right? That even because of that, I do have, because of that surgery, I do have a scar that runs from about here to here. Um, I mean, I see the aftermath, but I remember, my family saying, I had like tubes coming out of me and all that. that, I remember waking up, later in the morning, and I thought I had it bad, and in the in the room next to me, because I guess the only thing that divided it was maybe like one room, but it divided it by a glass door. Um, there was a girl, and I could see that it was a girl because they were wearing pink. There was a girl, a little girl, and she was bald. Um, she had cancer, and um, that made me like pretty pretty upset that even then, whenever uh, whenever I was there, I was talking to God, and I was like, man, God help that family, help that little girl, because I was raised Christian. My mom did raise us Christian. Thankfully, thank goodness, she put the fear of God in us. But it's only until we truly decide to follow Him, that's whenever we start making or attempting to make a change in our lives. So, if you or anyone that does have like a testimony or anything that you would want to share, if you don't feel like putting it together, you can go ahead and hit me up, and I would love to have a conversation with you. Um, have just talk. Talk about God, talk about the good things or the stuff that God has put you through because of your process, because of your development, and we'll put it together, and we could share it with other people so that um, them themselves, they can see the amazing things that God does in people's lives. Because it's easy to call yourself Christian, but it is hard to live Christian. It's the spiritual warfare that goes on, the temptations, the the belittlements that you sometimes receive by other people, either at work, at school, wherever it is that you may be. But remember that. Okay, and it reads. It's in Juan 15:18, and it says, Si el mundo os aborrece, sabed que a mí me ha aborrecido antes que a vosotros. Si fuerais del mundo, el mundo amaría antes. Yo os elegí del mundo, por eso el mundo os aborrece. Don't be surprised, right, that you won't click with certain people or with everybody, and it is perfectly okay if you feel like an outcast with everybody else. Because there's sometimes that the closer you get to God, the further away you'll be from the world. And honestly, I wouldn't have it no other way. Um, but yeah, thank you very much. Um, if you did watch all the way through, yeah, if you do want to share any part of your story or anything, your testimony or any of that matter, go ahead and shoot me a message or comment down below if you would like to do so. And but yeah, thank you very much, and God bless you.